Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I actually do string the Solinco Blackout. This is the 300 gram with the 16 by 19 string pattern, which is going to be very important. Now, the way that I'm going to be doing this is known as the two-piece method. So I have my string here. It is Luxon Element Soft IR. This one has been little bit of a newer string from Luxon, but I decided might as well try it. So now that I have the string out of the pack, biggest thing I have to do, because the method I'm going to be using, like I said, is called a two-piece method, I'm going to have to cut this string in half. Now, I personally prefer two-piecing. I do know how to one-piece. However, it's not something I do normally, just because most racket manufacturers, even from what I've seen, they've started recommending two-piece over one-piece, just in general, because it helps to get rid of and evenly distribute the weight of the actual tension when when you're actually pulling tension on the strings. So, with that being said, now that I have my two strings, with this, because it's a 16 by 19 string pattern, so there will be 16 mains, 19 crosses. What I have to do is I have to see how I have to start this. For this racket, I start down here at the throat of the racket, and I go up. If I could ever put this in correctly, there we go. And then we'll kick off one half of the string to the side for now. And then we put this other string into this side, and we go here. Now you want to get these lengths right here on this side as close to each other as possible. Whoops, I hit something. Because that is going to let you have enough string to actually finish the racket, because you don't want to be going and then figure out, oh no, I can't actually finish this thing because I did not set it or have enough string. So with that, I'm just going to adjust my tension really quick. Yeah. So I'm going to put this racket at 53 pounds with the Luxon Element Soft IR. And here we go. Now, I personally pulled these first two mains at the same time. That's me. Not everyone does that. Not everyone agrees with it. It does also depend on your machine, but it is what I do, and that's why I said this is how I string this racket, not how everyone does. But with these, because I'm using a crank machine and I have swivel clamps, I clamp one down here on this side, which is not where I tensioned at. This thing here is my tensioner. And then I have one string on, and then I have one clamp here on this string in order to actually just hold tension on it. So because of that, I'm going to be going and using this side first. Pull that through. Try and get rid of as much or as many of the knots as possible. Bring it around. Lock the machine. And pull tension. Ta-da! Unclamp this. I personally don't think it matters which one you do first, whether you unclamp the top one or the bottom one first. I have been known to sometimes switch back and forth, but it's up to you, I'm pretty sure. Unlock the machine. So now that I've pulled two mains on this side of the racket, we're going to come back to this one, which I haven't touched yet, and we're actually going to pull tension on this one again. So we'll pull tension, release it, and then clamp it, release tension, and go back and do that. Cool. So the reason that I went to the other side is because of the technique that I learned when I was studying for my MRT certification, Master Racket Technician certification. And this is to help evenly distribute the force and just the actual weight of the actual tension in the racket to help prevent injury from it, as well as to prevent warping or anything like that. So, unlike with the first side where we did two strings, now we will do three on this side. Hooray. So we got the third one going in. Pull pull that through. And then we tension that one. Now that we have this third one tensioned, we are going to go back to this side and just do essentially 2 strings on this side, 2 on that side, and just continue the process until we get to our tie-offs. So, with that being said, pretty much from right here, it is just following the same pattern. All right, now here is where something very important happens. On this racket, as you can see, I'm at the same amount of mains, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 mains going across, and now normally what you would do is you just go into this next hole, which is closest. However, if you do that, you're not going to get the actual string to be in line with the others. So what you have to do here is you have to skip this hole that you see right after you put in your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th main. So because we skip that one, we also skip the same one up here at the top of the head of the racket, and after we do that, now we tension the racket. So with that, the string stays in line and we get a consistent string job. So with that, we do the same thing on this side. Skip that 7th hole, skip this 7th hole up top, tension, clamp, and we're good. Now, again, this racket, it has 2 skips. So from this string we just put in, skip another hole, go into the next one, and go in down at the bottom, tension it, and ta-da. Congratulations. You now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strings on one side. So now you're ready to tie this side off and finish it and be nearly done with the mains. Congratulations. So with that, what you're going to do is this string, the rest of it that you use to tension with, you're just going to try and fit that into this hole that is the closest main to where you just pulled tension on. So with that, you put this string through the hole. Now I personally, my knot is to wherever it goes in, I'll go down this side on the other side of the string, and then I'll come up through it to have my knot. Now granted, I would also be using a starting clamp, however, I do not have one with me at the moment, so I'm just going to brute force it. Not necessarily the best thing to do, but it'll work for me because I'm going to be the one playing with this. And then I just pull up, rock the knot a time or two just to kind of help release some of the I'm going to end that thought there, just to try and help the knot a little, and then go back through, make another loop, and pull it again. Whoa, did not realize how strong I was apparently, but that'll do. So it got a little ahead of me. However, now you can just cut that, and congratulations, you've tied off your knot. So this can come off, and your racket still has tension. Congratulations, you did it. So then now we just finish this side, do the same thing. We skip this hole down here and up at the head. Lock, full tension. Ta-da. And now we're going to tie off again. So we go into the closest hole to us. If it doesn't fit right away, use your tools that I would assume came with your stringing machine, unless maybe you bought it secondhand, but use those. Make the string a little bit sharp, just a little bit easier to go through, so a little bit thinner. If it's still not going through the first time, grab an awl. Again, probably should have came with your stringing machine, and just move it into the hole a little. It will help to open the hole in order to get the string in, and ta-da, the string went in so much easier. So we'll put this in, and like I said, I'll do my knot again. I like to give it an initial little pull to try and get it a little bit further. Do that, and then loop it again. Pull up, and then I didn't get to show it on the last one because the actual string broke, but when you're pulling up on this one the second time, just pull up, release this, and then release your clamp. I've been told that it does help the knot to stay tight to where it has much less chance of coming undone, and it just helps to maintain the tension of the string. So I do it, and if it helps you, it helps you. Great. If not, okay, cool. So now that we have the mains done, we have 16 mains going up and down. Now we have to do the crosses. So the crosses arguably take the most time, however, just because you typically have to do more of them, but they can sometimes be a little bit easier depending on the string pattern you're working with. However, with 16 by 19, this one is going to be pretty easy. So with the crosses, the biggest thing to do is take your other piece of string, like I said, because this is a two-piece stringing job today. You take it into this top hole that is not used, which will be on either side of the racket, and you go from, and we start there. Now what I like to do is I go over top of this first string that we're going to go over. I'll go under the second one and just repeat that pattern, weaving the string over and under each other until I get to this side. Ta-da. Now we have our first cross string. Now the one thing that we do have to do here, this is going to be a little bit different, is we have to kind of essentially tie off right now, somewhat. Now, because I don't have a starting clamp with me, this is going to be a little bit different from how I would normally string this racket, just because that does help a lot more. But what you can do is, this racket specifically, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in terms of how many mains, that is where this string will go into to tie off with. So all you really need is just enough string to get over there and to tie and to actually make your knot. So I'm just going to go ahead. Like I said, this is going to be on the 5th main string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go in that same hole. And with this, I'm just going to make my knot as I did with the mains. And then tighten it again, just like the mains. Now, like I said, since I don't have a starting clamp with me, this is not how I would normally do this, but this will work well enough for me right now, just because, like I said, I'm going to be the only one using this racket. If you have a starting clamp, there's a much better way to do this, I would definitely recommend doing it that way. But I did notice that I forgot to give this some slack in the first one. So, whoa! That was not intended. All right, this. So, the knot is fairly tight, and what I'm going to do now is, even though I haven't pulled tension on it yet, I'm just going to take the other side of my string and string it through this second part. Well, this second cross. Now you have to go down into the next hole on the side you did not tie off at. So we do this, we go up again, and then we're just doing the opposite of what we did on the first main. So we're moving this around, weaving it through, and we go into the next cross hole. I personally like it to where if I go, whatever I do on one side of the racket, I want to do on the other side in terms of putting the crosses in. So if, for instance, the reason you see me using this tool is that this string inside the racket, I know you won't be able to see it, but this string needs to go up above the actual loop that's in there. If you're stringing one right now, you'll see what I mean. If I had chose to go on this side and I went under this one, I would have gone under on this one. That's just me. Some people don't care. I think it looks a little bit unclean if it's not done. So now that I have the second cross installed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten the table and pull tension on the first cross. Cool. All right. And then, now that I pulled tension, I released the clamp. Well, I released the tensioner, not the clamp. And then I just went ahead and I'm pulling my crosses through. Now with this, I've always been told that you do want to kind of push your crosses up as you're going through it a little bit. You can also cut this in order to get it out of your way because it'll get annoying. But you always want to push your crosses through. Well, push your crosses up as you're pulling through in order to make sure that you are getting a very safe, you don't just hurt the crosses by pulling too fast. It helps to kind of relieve some of the actual just pressure on them, as well as not get rid of as much of the coating that's on some of the strings, depending on what type you're using. So with this, because if we look here at our second cross, what we did was this string over here, this is under the first one. If yours is over, then just do the opposite of what I'm about to say. But since mine is under this main, I need to go under this one, which is closest to me right now, and go over this one to keep it consistent. So that way we don't have what's called a double bridge, because if you double bridge your racket, it is not fun and you essentially have to redo it. And if you go through the entire racket and you don't notice that there's a double bridge, it's not pretty. You essentially have to cut the string out and restart the entire thing. Not fun at all. So now that we do that, it's pretty simple for the rest of the crosses. We just pretty much do the weave technique the entire way through. And like I said, I'm always pushing up my crosses just to help get them through and just to help it glide across the racket a little bit easier. And then we just keep going, doing the exact same thing until we get down to the bottom. So I will talk to you again when I get down there. All right, so we're on our second to last cross, and here's the thing. We're a little bit blocked right here. So what we have to do is, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over top of the string that is blocking me in the actual hoop of the racket, and then just continue stringing like normal. So with that, we're still going. Ta-da. And then when we get to the other side, we want to make sure that since we went over, that this string also goes over top of the rackets, on top of the string inside the racket loop as well. And then we just tension like normal. Cool. Same thing for this last one. I'm going to go over. And then because of this cross, we go under this one, or opposite of whatever was right above it. Tension again. And then since we're at the last cross, we pull it all the way through. Tension this. Release these. And I like to give myself a little bit of space, especially when I'm tying off, just so that way it's not extremely cramped when I'm trying to actually tie my knot. And so with that, cut some of the excess because that's a lot. And not all that needs to go through the racket. And then with this, we just go down right here to the closest grommet hole that is right next to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which will be the 7th hole that's down here at the bottom. And then we just do the same knot. As last time. Tighten it up. Ta-da. Do it again. Tighten it, pull it up, and release the clamps. Ta-da. Cut this. And then just do a little once over, check your strings, make sure that they're all aligned. You don't really want any bends or dips in the actual racket itself. So if you have to do a little adjusting, then that's fine. Sometimes you just don't catch it while you're going through because it all looks the same and your eyes are just glazing over it. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been here for so long. But yeah. So with that, once you think you're good, then at least for this machine, I got a Loosen these. And you're good to go. Ready to play. All right. Have fun.